After more than a year of violence and a major humanitarian crisis, Gaza basks in a new day as an agreement between Israel and Hamas ends a 15-month war.
We're at the beginning of a brand new warming trend here in Central Texas, but it won't last for long. We'll update you on the arrival time of that Arctic cold front and the potential impacts to follow.
And a popular Austin street is about to take on a very different look. The big changes coming to 6th Street as a new program aims to keep Austinites out of harm's way. Well, big changes are coming to Austin's famed 6th Street this weekend. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jennifer Sanders.
And I'm Daniel Marin. After testing out opening the street back up to vehicles on Thursdays and Sundays, the city will expand that pilot, allowing cars on Fridays and Saturdays.
And KXAN public safety reporter Brianna Hollis is live downtown. And Bree, you're going to show us some of those new street fixtures that are already in place.
So about a week or so ago, I wouldn't be able to stand here. This was all street parking, but the city got rid of that, put up these bumpers, put up these rubble barriers to give people some more space to walk. The next change is coming tomorrow. A fence will go up along this line from Brazos to Red River to add an additional layer of protection between cars and pedestrians. For the first time in years, a Friday and Saturday night on 6th Street will look more like this than this. After about 6 weeks of testing out a pilot opening the road up to car traffic on Thursday and Sunday nights, the city of Austin is taking the leap, expanding that to the entire weekend.
It is safer to have pedestrians on the sidewalk.
Police Chief Lisa Davis says something needs to stop the often out of control and sometimes violent bar close crowds.
When we're locking down these streets like this and inviting more chaos into this place, it is not tenable. It has to change. Many business owners have strong thoughts both for and against opening the street. Ernie Villarreal, who we spoke with today, says he'll need to see it play out.
There'll be a lot less foot traffic, but then again, the foot traffic just might be condensed into a smaller part of the street.
Wednesday's discussion also addressed holistic safety measures, like the need to diversify 6th Street and make it more attractive to folks on a regular basis, not just at night. But we've been here and heard this before. When it comes to the revitalization and safety of 6th Street as a whole, we heard a lot of these similar promises back when the Safer 6th Street resolution passed a couple of years ago. What is different about this and what is going to make this stick?
So I'll say it, that was a couple of years ago. And one of the things that we have, I think, done better over the last couple of years is recognize when basic needs need to be addressed and then making sure that they're addressed. This is one of the things that I've wanted to see us take action on.
And to be fair, Mayor Watson, who answered a lot of those safety questions for us today, wasn't in office back when that initial round of safety promises were made. Police Chief Lisa Davis is also new in her role. However, the state of 6th Street is something we are going to continue to monitor very closely. As for this weekend, APD says they're going to see how things go with opening the streets on Friday and Saturday and assess from there. Jen, Daniel.
All right, Brianna Hollis, thank you so much. Going in depth right now for half a year, Texas Congressman Lloyd Doggett has called on the General Services Administration to review all federally owned and leased buildings in the southwestern U.S. to see if bollards should be installed. It is a response to last year's deadly crash at an Austin hospital. And our reporting from KXAN investigators revealing more than 400 similar incidents at medical facilities over the past decade across the country. Doggett renewed his request after the terror attack in New Orleans.
First warning weather with Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannon.
Beautiful looking sky from our KXAN studios, our West Shore home camera on West Campus looking toward downtown. You can see the blue sky overhead, but you can also see the distant clouds to the south and southeast of the city, and those clouds keeping our eastern counties largely in the 50s, yet most of us have warmed into the 60s, noticeably warmer than it was this time yesterday. In fact, we're about 5 to 7 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago. Actually, kind of a pleasant evening to be out and about. We do see the clouds off to the south and east of Austin, though. They continue to pull away, although they are bringing a few sprinkles to portions of Fayette County. Those sprinkles, too, will go with the clouds and will all be dry here tonight. Mostly clear skies now, dropping into the mid-50s at 7, upper 40s at 9, under a mostly clear sky, and it will be a colder night here tonight. Coming up in First Warning Weather, we've got a new warming trend that already started here today today and will continue through Friday. We'll show you when temperatures near 70 before an Arctic front comes in this weekend. But that front has sped up its arrival time. We'll update you on the changes there, with the potential for wintry precipitation next week.
All right, Nick, thank you so much. After months of negotiations and thousands of deaths, Israel and Hamas have agreed to a ceasefire and a hostage deal. The agreement is set to take effect on Sunday, though it still needs final approval from Israeli cabinet members. This deal puts an end to 15 months of fighting in Gaza. As NBC's Alice Barr reports, it unfolds in 3 phases, with Israeli hostages gradually released and desperately needed aid set to flow into Gaza.
Jubilation among the ruins in Gaza and on the streets of Israel as hostage families and Gazan civilians who've spent 15 months in the line of fire learn a long-sought ceasefire and hostage release is coming. Negotiators in Qatar confirming the 3-phase agreement and crediting a joint push from the incoming Trump administration joining the Biden team's months of work.
At long last, I can announce a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas.
The remaining hostages include Americans like 19-year-old Itai Chen, who the Israeli military says was killed in the October 7th Hamas attack and brought to Gaza.
There's been too much pain for these 15 months.
The family desperate for the closure of bringing Itai's body home, though that won't happen in the deal's first phase that has 33 women, children, elderly, and injured hostages set to be released in exchange for Palestinian prisoners, dramatically increased aid into Gaza, and the withdrawal of Israeli troops from population centers to a border buffer zone. Soldiers and other male hostages would be released in later phases.
We are grateful, and it's a time to be joyful for those that will be reunited, but there's still work to be done.
The agreement is very similar to a proposal President Biden announced last spring. President-elect Trump crediting his upcoming inauguration as a catalyst to finally move forward. As the U.S., allies, and all those suffering hold on to hope, the agreement will bring a final end to a devastating war. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Well, today the U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments over a new Texas law aimed at preventing young people from accessing pornographic content online.
And the state argues the law protects children. Opponents say it infringes on adults' First Amendment rights. The law, passed in 2023, requires users to verify their age. Pornography websites filed a lawsuit to try to stop it, and many blocked access to their sites. So that battle reached the highest court in the land today.
And KXAN's Avery Travis joined us now. She listened to those arguments. And Avery, did we get a sense of how the court could rule?
Daniel, based on many of the questions that those justices were asking attorneys, they did seem open to having Texas, get to take action on this issue, some kind of action. For example, Justice Barrett, who's a mom of 7 kids, acknowledged how difficult it is for parents to keep up with things like content blocking. Now, still, the court acknowledged that this is a complicated First Amendment issue that has a lot of different implications. Today, the main focus was on the level of what's called judicial scrutiny that should be applied in this case. I know we're getting into some legalese there, so let me break it down for you. Basically, that means the attorneys representing Pornhub and others are arguing the court should review Texas's law with what's known as strict scrutiny. Basically, the government must have a compelling interest for passing a law like this when it could infringe on someone's First Amendment rights. And that law must also be narrowly tailored to address the problem. So the industry's attorneys today argued the age verification law that Texas put into place puts an extra burden on the user and doesn't fully address the problem when it comes to kids accessing content like this. The High Court could ultimately actually just send this issue back down to the appeals court for another review, but this time they would ask them to review it under that highest level of scrutiny. Really, it still remains to be seen. We could wait weeks, even months, before the court could rule. But after the arguments today, Attorney General Ken Paxton says no matter what standard is applied, what level of that scrutiny, he says he's not worried about winning this case.
It's really not designed to do anything other than protect children from online pornography, and doesn't go beyond that. It's very focused law. I think, well designed.
To note, he was joined there by his wife, who's actually the state lawmaker who authored that law. And it does seem like a real possibility that the court could kick this case back down to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. So that's something we'll, of course, closely be watching. The implications, though, whatever they decide, could impact about nearly 20 other states that have similar laws.
All right, Avery Travis, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Daniel.
All right, well, to other news now, a small group of senators is trying to extend the deadline for TikTok's Chinese parent company to sell the popular app with just days to spare. They're led by Democrat Ed Markey of Massachusetts, who filed a bill that would push back the deadline by at least 270 days. An overwhelming bipartisan majority on Capitol Hill supported the original law, arguing that TikTok is a national security risk. President-elect Donald Trump has expressed his desire to keep TikTok around, but the ban is set to take place the day before he takes office. The Supreme Court is currently weighing this issue, and a decision could come any day.
Saturday Night Live creator Lorne Michaels has donated an archive to the Harry Ransom Center at UT Austin. His donation includes documents from Michaels' career in television and the nearly 50-year history of Saturday Night Live. According to the center, the exhibition is expected to highlight key moments from SNL's history with behind-the-scenes rehearsal notes, annotated scripts, artifacts, and much more. We did speak to Jenny Ramiro, the curator of film for the Harry Ransom Center, on how this exhibition came to be.
When Lorne Michaels and his team were looking for an archival home for the collection, they reached out to Stephen Ennis, the director of the Harry Ransom Center, and conversations just proceeded from there until ultimately he decided to donate his collection here. But, you know, we have a number of collections related to contemporary film and television, including the Mad Men collection and the Robert De Niro papers.
The exhibition, live from New York, The Making of Lorne Michaels, is expected to open in late September, and you'll have the opportunity to check it out until March 2026.
Well, turning now to the devastation in California as multiple wildfires continue to tear across the Los Angeles area. At least 25 people have died and more than 20 are still missing.
And as NBC's Jay Gray reports, fire teams have been working for more than a week, but they still don't have control of the two largest blazes.
While the winds have started to ease a bit, the firefight here is still far from over.
There are still numerous hot spots burning within the fire footprint. The combination of low humidity and strong winds has further dried out the brush, increasing the risk of fire. The danger has not yet passed.
Teams are making progress along the front lines, but the two major fires, Palisades and Altadena, are still far from contained. Crews also dealing with hotspots. The conditions in most of these burned out communities means more than a week after evacuations, most families still can't get back to what's left of their homes.
Significant safety and infrastructure issues remain, including downed power lines, broken gas lines, hazardous materials, and unsafe water.
In the very limited areas where it's safe, gas, power, and water crews are inspecting lines, beginning repairs, while a handful of those forced from their homes are briefly coming back, overwhelmed by the ruins left from their lives before the firestorm.
When you stare at your front door that's gone, and you have the few moments to contemplate, what does this really mean to my life? I mean, I still don't fully understand everything I have is gone, but you have to decide, I have to find some meaning in why this happened.
Understanding so many here are searching for right now. Jay Gray, NBC News, Altadena.
First warning weather with Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannon.
Well, let's start with a different look from the Domain. We usually show Q2 Stadium, but this time we're looking south toward downtown Austin from the Domain from our Indeed weather camera. Sunshine overhead, thicker cloud cover in our southern sky and southeastern sky as well. Those were the clouds that were overhead this morning. They've now been moving away, but not quite out of our vision sight, at least at this point. You can see those clouds there off to the south and east of us. Let me take you into the future as those clouds continue to pull away. We'll be in for a mostly clear night, but during the day tomorrow, some more clouds will come in from west to east. So we'll go from some sun to sun and clouds, and then back to some sun with increasing sunshine later in the day. So we'll call it a blend of sun and clouds here tomorrow. Thicker cloud cover comes in Friday. It may bring us a spotty shower in the afternoon and early evening. Rain chances only at 10%. Wouldn't get excited about it. But despite the cloud cover on Friday, it's going to be a warmer day. Then our cold front now expected to come in early Saturday morning, but it comes in without any fanfare. It is going to be a dry cold front, but it will certainly bring us the coldest stretch of weather that we've had since last winter. Yes, even colder than what we had last week. So mostly clear skies on track here for tonight. A colder night as a result. Overnight lows of 38 in Austin. There could be some spotty freezes in the hill country. Most of us should stay above freezing though here tonight. And then our day tomorrow will continue this warming trend. Today we had low 60s, tomorrow mid 60s. Mix in sun and clouds and very light wind here tomorrow. More clouds Friday, but warmer, 67. There could be some parts of the hill country that get into the 70s on Friday. And then Saturday, that earlier arrival of the front is going to mean that I don't think we get into the 60s anymore. We're going with highs in the 50s. Temperatures will drop as the front arrives in the morning and then try to bounce back up in the afternoon with the sun and then drop much more at night. Sunday, sunshine, but a cold day. So I would get things done on Saturday before the chilly air arrives. Saturday night, Sunday morning, that'll be our first freeze of several days of a freeze. So here's Sunday, 43, Monday, 40, but the coldest day continues to look to be Tuesday, where high temperatures in Austin should stay in the mid-30s. There could be parts of the hill country that don't actually climb above freezing on Tuesday. And if that's the case, then you're looking at more than a 24-hour period below freezing in parts of the hill country Monday into Tuesday. Wednesday shows signs of our slow but steady warm-up, 40 in Austin on Wednesday. Overnight lows will be much colder than what we had last week. 29 Sunday morning. That's a widespread hard freeze, but look at Monday, Tuesday, and even Wednesday morning, mid to low 20s in Austin. This could mean teens in the hill country and possibly wind chills in the single digits. At the time of our coldest air, Monday into Tuesday, we could get some precipitation coming our way from south to north. Second half of Monday into Tuesday. If it gets here, we could be looking at a variety of wintry precipitation types. So one of our computer models suggests that. Another one actually keeps the moisture south of us during that Monday to Tuesday period and never brings in precipitation at all. That's why our precipitation forecast much more uncertain than the forecast for cold. Here's a look at our first warning weather 7-day forecast. You can see those wintry mixed chances start to rise during the second half of Monday, peaking Monday night into Tuesday, and then slowly coming down on Wednesday. We'll be right back.
A lunar lander from Cedar Park is on its way to the moon. The lander, which was built by space transportation company Firefly Aerospace, took off aboard a SpaceX rocket overnight. This is part of a mission for NASA. It launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida a little after midnight Central Time. The nearly 7-foot-tall lander, which is named Blue Ghost, is carrying 10 NASA instruments to the moon. It's expected to arrive in about 45 days. Blue Ghost has some company with it. The rocket is also carrying a Japanese moon lander under a rideshare agreement. This marks the first time two landers spacecraft have launched to the moon on the same rocket.
The Food and Drug Administration announced it is banning the use of red dye number 3. The synthetic dye that gives food and drinks their bright red cherry color has been linked to cancer in animals. Approved for use in foods in 1907, red dye number 3 is made from petroleum. It's used in thousands of foods, including candy, cereal, and strawberry-flavored milkshakes. Food manufacturers will have until January of 2027 to reformulate their products. This decision is a victory for consumer advocacy groups and some lawmakers who have long urged the FDA to revoke the additive's approval.